Yeah,
Cut.
ask you questions, do you?
Yeah. I did tell him they were podcast recording, so it's fine.
Better or worse?
My glasses. I think that one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be okay now.
You're ahead of me. I'm going to take this out so I can listen.
Yeah, that makes more sense because it's leaning back, but it's not.
No, and that's terrible. That quality is absolutely terrible. You start your best
Okay.
starting.
Hello and welcome to the Target Transfers podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm here with Molly. My name is Andy. I'm the marketing manager here at Target Transfers, and we're here to try and help educate all of you to learn a bit more about heat printing and how we can make that more profitable for you as a business. So today we're going to talk about how to start a t-shirt business and some of the things you need to consider if you're looking at custom heat transfers. Target Transfers has helped thousands of entrepreneurs get started making money with a heat press, and you can put that anywhere in your house to get started. Super easy, and probably as an international group, along with our colleagues in Styles and Transfer Express, we probably, it could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people get started with a garment decorated business now. So there's lots of useful tips and tricks that we've picked up along the way, and we're hoping to share them with you today. If there's anything that we don't cover today and you'd like to know a little bit more about, do leave a comment, send us a message, and we can include those topics in a future podcast as well. So first off, I'm just going to talk about heat presses. This is what we do here. We're part of Styles Electronics, and this is a profit machine that anyone can get started with. You're kind of looking at sort of £425 as an entry-level machine, and all the way up to £6,500. But there's really an option for everyone, so that if you need to start somewhere, you can start somewhere basically, and then all you will need is heat transfers on top of that. So we're going to go to that. It's a bit of a simplified look at it. We'll kind of touch upon this in a little bit more detail throughout the podcast today. So obviously, Molly, you've only been here a couple of years now, but you were brand new to heat presses and heat transfers in general.
Yes, no, I'd never used one before in my life before I came to Target, so it was a whole new experience for me.
But how did you find it when you first started using a heat press for the first time?
I was surprisingly shocked at how easy it was, to be completely honest. It takes, when I first joined, we were getting ready to launch Ultra Colour, so we were sort of prepping everything for that. And it was one of the first things that you showed me how to fuse, and one of the first things I learned to promo as a product for Target. And yeah, it was just simple, 12 seconds done. Everything's with Hotronics controlled on the press, all preloaded, depending on which one you get. And it was just, really simple.
It's really easy, and for anyone that's never used a heat press before, essentially what you have is a really big heating plate on the top, and that comes down onto a t-shirt or hoodie, any kind of fabric, and applies heat and pressure through a transfer. And then what you have is the transfer will melt at a certain temperature depending on the product type, and that's how you get designs onto a t-shirt. It's really that simple. It takes sort of between 5 and 15 seconds as an absolute maximum to decorate any kind of garment.
And we're wearing our examples today.
We're
wearing, for those of you watching on YouTube, we have screen printed heat transfers, our brand new Target Transfer podcast t-shirts today.
So for those that are starting, it's really quite simple. The main thing is to kind of work out what you can afford to use to get started, because there's an option for everyone. And also to try and look long-term if possible as well. So start to think about how your business is going to look in sort of 12 or 24 months time, because you might find that actually that extra bit of functionality is what you want now or not. Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. I think we've had feedback from customers that they come in and they buy the most basic entry-level press, which from Hotronics, the Max, is still a very good heat press. But then they get to the point where they need all of the preloaded settings. They want the swing drawer from the Fusion. They want the auto open because it saves time. And then they wish they'd have spent the tiny bit extra at the time to upgrade, and then they're coming back and then they're buying two, which having two Hotronix machines isn't a bad thing, but
So if you're looking for a heat press, and this applies to absolutely any manufacturer of heat press, so if you want to have a little bit of a look around and find out the best option for you, there's only really three things you need to be able to control, and that is time, temperature, and pressure. You hear us talk about it quite a lot. We call it the heat press trinity, but these are the only three things you need to be able to control, and these are the most important factors when buying any machinery for a garment decorating business. The reason they're so important is that every transfer product or vinyl product has an exact science behind it. So whenever we manufacture something, it's manufactured to go at an exact temperature point. So that's why we always say look for time, temperature, and pressure, because that way if you can control that, you don't have to worry about, is my transfer going to stand, is my design going to come off in the wash, because you can have peace of mind knowing you've done it properly. So like I say, everything kind of goes down between 5 seconds and 15 seconds, depending on the product, how thick the material is. That's kind of the main decider of how long the temperature is going to take, what adhesive is in the actual vinyl or transfer.
Does it matter how thick it is? Like, I know for transfers they're all fairly similar, but for vinyls, if they're different thicknesses, it
tends
matter?
to be that the thicker ones tend to take a little bit longer, right, because the heat's got to travel through the thicker material to get to the melting point.
And that's the same principle if you're fusing transfers onto a thicker garment, I take it as well. Because the heat would, depending on if you're using upper or lower platen.
Because the transfer is always going to be the same thickness, so the actual top platen's not going to travel any further to get to the melting point.
Right, okay.
Top. Yeah, so that would be all right. So if you can control time, you can control temperature. It's one of the main things, and time. So one of the most important things to look for in a heat press is, can you accurately measure these? So every single heat press you look at should have a temperature readout, and that temperature readout should be accurate within sort of 3 degrees. So if it says it's 160, put a heat gun up to it and check how close it is, because if it's out by sort of 10, 15 degrees, it probably means you've got a cheap heat press, and it means that over the lifetime of that product, it might come off a little bit sooner, because you might not necessarily notice the mistake straight away, and you won't be able to tell it by just about picking at it, and it won't come off. But it means that once it's been in the wash a little while, it'll start
That's
to come
the biggest thing I find as well, when we have people messaging or commenting us about the longevity of transfers, and we highlight obviously the 3 most important things when fusing is time, temperature, and pressure. And having a Hotronix press, like you said, Andy, that's so accurate with it, has a massive impact on long term. And I think a lot of people don't realise the importance of that, and they think, oh, it's gone down, it's fused fine, they'll pick at it, it won't come off. And they say, oh, I've never had a customer complain, but a customer won't, unless they're really, really unhappy and it's come off straight away. If it's been a few washes and it comes off, they probably just won't buy from your brand again. And then that's losing business over something that you can easily really control to within, like you say, a few degrees. So don't underestimate the importance of those 3 things, because you might not notice it straight away, but as and when your business grows or doesn't grow, if you're producing products that come off in the wash, but
And the second thing is time. So every single heat press should have a digital time on it. Again, because everything in the manufacturing process of a transfer has been programmed specifically for time, temperature, and pressure. So you don't need to worry about adding more time to it if you think it's not long enough. I can promise you that wherever you're buying your products from, if they say it's 10 seconds, it's 10 seconds. There's been a lot of research and development into the manufacturing of any heat-applied product, so that won't be a problem. And the other thing is pressure, and this is where a lot of people come unstuck. Because quite literally, by applying incorrect pressure. So everything that we manufacture goes down at medium pressure, so that one's quite easy to control, because everything comes out of the box at medium pressure, for us, we measure in from 0 to 9 for pressure, and the majority of our heat presses have a readout. So if in doubt, you can read that, and that tends to be sort of next step up in machine wise that people look for when you're buying your first heat press or your next heat press is, can it read out pressure? So that's quite an important one as well, because that is when the melt point is hit with the heat platen. You just need a little bit of pressure to push it into the garment. But what's really important to consider is under or over pressuring are both detrimental to the product in the end. So it's something to be really careful. And we find a lot of people make a mistake with over pressuring. So when you actually pull a heat press down, you'd be surprised at how little effort you need to put into it. I know this is something you probably noticed when you first started here, but we always talk about being able to pull the press down with 2 fingers because we would expect these machines to work 24 hours a day.
I thought it was 3. That's even better.
Yeah.
I've been going with the 3 theory.
So it means that these shouldn't be hard work for you. There's so much precision engineering have gone into a Hottronics machine that you should be able to pull this down nice and easily, and it won't have an issue with repetitive strain. So you should be finding these very user-friendly and easy to get on with. So these are the 3 most important things when getting the most important piece of machinery in your business.
The bread and butter of your business,
exactly,
as we say.
Time, temperature, and pressure is all you need to get started. And most machines should be able to control. So we know that our machines are guaranteed to control this because we pride ourselves on being the world's leading heat press manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to have a little bit of a look around, if the machines can't guarantee these 3 things, then you should probably avoid them.
Don't buy it.
Don't buy them, no.
Just don't buy it. It's a bad idea. I think the pressure thing, just circling back around to that, is an important one that, again, people don't necessarily realise how important it is. And especially if you're using a handheld, we get questions quite a lot if our transfers can be applied with things like irons, which I can understand people wanting to do if they've sort of got craft presses at home and things like that. But for longevity and quality purposes, we always recommend heat presses because you can control time, temperature, and pressure. But for people that use handheld presses, it's, even though you can put your body weight behind it, you can't guarantee that that pressure is going to be the same every time. And then you also can't, if you're using 50 garments a day, you can't, you weigh yourself out before the press does. That's just not an option. So yeah, there's multiple reasons, but we definitely recommend clamshell.
Exactly.
Over handheld.
And if you really want to kind of get nerdy about what a heat press should be like, if you go onto a YouTube channel, there's a video called Hottronics versus Import Press, where Josh Ellsworth from Styles actually takes apart a Hottronics machine and a cheap import press to show you exactly what the build quality looks like.
It's a very good video if you haven't seen it.
So you can see for yourself just how important that build quality is and how much of a fluctuation in temperature there can be between machines. So I do recommend you go and check that out because it will be really informative for helping you get started, finding the right machine to get going with.
Yeah, definitely.
And from our point of view, if you have any questions about machines, do get in touch with us. The really simple answer to which machine you should pick is what size of garments, what size of your design are you going to be putting onto garments? So you can always put a smaller bottom pattern on a press, but you can never change the top one. So measure your designs and think what is the biggest design I'll ever need to do. And then that is how you can inform what size machine you need to get. Because there's 3 sizes in most of the models. So if you're only going to be doing small kids stuff, you don't need to buy a big press. You can get away with a small one. But if you're going to be doing large back prints or sports numbers, that's when you tend to need to get the bigger press just to future-proof yourself a little bit that way.
Again, that comes down to thinking ahead for what you want your business to be able to achieve long term. If you're only doing, if you have, like you said, children's wear brand, and you know that for the rest of the time all you're going to be using is the tiny little t-shirts, then you can get away with a small one. But if you want to be able to expand your business, then you're probably better off getting the bigger one early on, even if it feels a bit excessive, and then within a few months or a year or so you'll be grateful you did. And like Andy said, all of the platens, I think it's like 14 or 15 bottom platens we have, like different sizes, so you're never going to be stuck with finding one to suit the garment or accessory you're using.
Exactly. And if you're thinking about starting a heat press business, it's important to think about what the payoff for your machine is going to be like, because we know this is sort of one of the number one questions people have. So if you do go to targettransfers.com and have a look at any of the heat presses, Molly's kindly done a breakdown for every single machine on there. So if you want to factor in how long it's going to take to pay off your heat press, we've done a quick calculation based on standard order of a heat press, standard profit margins for a product, because it's a really important decision to make sure that you'll be able to pay off your machine nice and quickly. And I think anyone would be quite surprised at just how quick it is. So if you're looking at max press, you're looking at around about 80 t-shirts to get that payment back on the entry level heat press. And even the most expensive of heat presses, you're still only looking at sort of 300 shirts to pay the money back, because you can make such large profits with a heat press and heat transfers, which we'll get onto in a minute. So it's really important to factor that in when you're looking at buying a heat press, is thinking, with my business, conservatively, how many heat t-shirts can I sell in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next year? Because that will help inform what you can afford to buy from a heat press. And we wouldn't want you to buy a machine that you can't afford to pay back quickly and start to turn into a profit machine.
I think as well, for anyone that does go and have a look at our price breakdowns for the heat presses on the website, we have calculated it over the course of a year. So if it's, for example, says 12 t-shirts per month, that's for 12 months, and then you've paid off the heat press, And another thing to note as well is that these price calculations include payment for yourself. So in a previous podcast, we were talking about when you start a t-shirt business, whether or not you should pay yourself, reinvest that money into the business, what you should do in that situation. But these heat press price payoff breakdowns have been done with your payment as such out already. So you can rest assured that out of that profit margin, you are getting a certain percentage of profit, but sort of payment for yourself as well.
Yeah, and an alternative way to look at the price calculation for a heat press, if you find that one's not quite the option for you, is the other way to calculate is to do it on the warranty. So base this around the warranty you get with your heat press. So for instance, with many of the Hottronics machines, they come with the Hottronics Premier warranty. And this guarantees 5 years warranty on the framework. So that means another way of looking at it is, okay, actually, what is the cost of the heat press divided by 5? Because you know that if anything happens in that 5 years, then we'll be here to help you and make sure it's fixed for you. You do get a lifetime on the heating element, so we are very confident these are going to last and last. You're looking at adding more machines in before you have to replace the one you buy first. But that could be another way of looking at it. So, for instance, with a max press, then you're kind of looking at sort of £500 a year rather than £1,000 a year. Or with an auto open heat press where you get the Premier warranty for 5 years, you could be looking at more like £300 a year spread over 5 years. So it's very easy to, and that would equal less than £1 a day for your machine, and this is going to be the machine that's going to run your business. And
it's nothing when you think about it, is it? I was very shocked when I realised the actual payoff numbers for the presses, especially the Fusion IQ, which is my favourite, I would admit, bar the Dual, but I mean, I think that's everyone's favourite one, But yeah, so I was quite surprised that it's only, I believe, 12 t-shirts per month for that one, and that seems like nothing for one of the most popular heat presses that we sell here. If you sell 12 garments per month, which majority of heat printing businesses do, you can afford to level up to Hottronics.
Exactly. So that is more or less a very brief version of heat presses and the machine you need to run your business. There are lots and lots of videos that we have on a YouTube channel, and we have lots of events and virtual live events coming up soon as well. So if you want to know more about that, just follow along, and we'll cover that in a lot more detail. The other thing we did want to talk about today is that another vital element of starting a t-shirt business is what actually goes on the t-shirt. And the easiest way to get started with a t-shirt business is with heat transfers, because the cost to entry is so low. You're looking about £20 to get started, which is really, really cheap and is super low risk.
And it can be any design.
Any design. So there are 3 different types of heat transfer, and it's important to understand which one you want, because you can mix and match all of them across anything you do. And all of them come with different attributes depending on your design. But the most important thing to remember is there's not really any limits on what you can achieve anymore. So there's been lots of changes within the heat printing industry over the last couple of years, with a lot of the innovations that Styles and Target Transfers and Transfer Express have brought to the market. But it means that any design that you create can be turned into something you can go into a t-shirt now.
Any design at all.
Any design, any detail, any colour, absolutely anything can be achieved. So there's 3 different types of heat transfer. So you've got an ultra colour transfer, which is a full colour transfer. You've got a 1 to 5 colour screen transfer, which is a traditional heat transfer.
As demonstrated.
Yep. And then you have direct to film transfers, which is the brand new Ultra Colour Max product, which has been brought out by Styles and Target Transfers.
And now us in the UK.
Yeah. So we'll start off with 1 to 5 colour screen transfers, because this is historically been the go-to heat transfer. And it's been around for, probably longer than either of us have been alive, to be honest with you.
That doesn't surprise me.
So this is a product, we call it 1 to 5 screen, because generally speaking, anything more than 5 colours, it starts to get expensive for you. And 1 to 5 colour screen is a block colour transfer. So what I mean by this is you don't tend to have overlapping colours. You don't tend to have tones and gradients with this. It just tends to be 1 to 5 block colours, the colours that go next to each other.
It's almost like when you're a child and you don't want different portions of food on your plate to touch. It's like none of the 5 colours can overlap or touch each other on the design work.
But there's no limit on detail you can achieve with them. And generally speaking, we tend to find that the majority of 1 to 5 colour heat transfers are 1 to 2 colour anyway.
Is 3 where we recommend people switch over? I know it's possible to do 5, but from a price point of view, 3 is where we recommend people switch to ultra colour.
From a price point of view, that's once you get to 3 colours, you're going to be find more profit by doing a full colour transfer, regardless of where they come from, to be honest.
Top tip.
And traditionally speaking, 1 to 5 colours tend to be white or black. When it comes down to 80% of 1 to 5 colour transfers are white or black. So if you're just doing white or black slogan t-shirts,
neck labels, amount of neck labels that we've had going through our screen print machine over the last few months has just increased so much, which is great because it means that people are doing the most time and cost effective way of branding their garments. There's a lot of neck labels.
Yeah, so they tend to be traditionally for a levers design. You often get a lot of sportswear done if it's just traditional 1 colour on the back of a shirt.
Numbers, names.
So a lot of corporate wear as well. Traditionally been done with that because it tends to be 2 or 3 colours in the design.
Yeah.
And you can get really, really fine detail on that as well. So that is a 1 to 5 colour. So you've got between 1 and 3 colours. Chances are go with the 1 to 5 colour screen. So it's a traditional screen printed heat transfer is what it is known as. So if you Google that, then you'll find everything you need to know about screen printed heat transfers. That's one option you can choose. The other option is something called Ultra Colour. So this is a brand new product that's only been around for a couple of years now. But this essentially is what we call a digital screen hybrid. But in essence, what it means is any colour, any tone, any gradient, any style, any fine detail you need, you can put it into a design. So you give us your design, no matter what it would be, it could be as photorealistic as you want, and then you basically get a piece of your design on a piece of paper that we specially developed to withstand heat and melt on your t-shirt, and then you can turn it into anything you want.
That has really helped a lot of our customers scale their businesses as well, because they've been able to apply their customers more detailed designs to garments rather than having limited options of saying, no, we can only do this. They can't be, like you said, the colours can't overlap, be touching.
Yeah.
That's details too fine, this and the other. So it has really, really helped a lot of heat printers sort of level up their businesses over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and the majority of entrepreneurs we're seeing have started to use full color designs. So a lot of the people that we've seen starting t-shirt businesses over the last year or so have actually been using ultra color heat transfers. So this is because the market's dictating full color designs. The most popular designs out there tend to have 10, 20, 50, 100 colors in them because of all the tones and gradients that you find as part of that. So ultra color has been one of the most popular products that we've ever seen.
And you don't realise really, do you, when you look at a design with a gradient in, how many individual colours there are? You just look and think, oh, that just fades from light to dark blue. But no, when you look at the actual detail into how many colours there actually are, there's a lot.
So that has been one of the most popular ones as well. You tend to order those in a minimum of 10. So that's when you start to kind of scale your business up, and you want 10, you want 100, you want 1,000, 10,000. You can very easily do that with 1 to 5 screen products and ultra color. If you're just starting off and you only want to get a couple of designs done, or if you're thinking about starting a personalization business, people tend to do their first transfers now with Ultra Color Max, which is what we call a direct to film transfer, but it's essentially short run transfers in full color, with the tone, with the gradient, with the detail.
The brand new, everybody wants to transfer.
So if you only want to order one, you can get what we call a jumbo sheet. So you can order one giant sheet, which is 55 by 55 centimeters, and you can just pack it with as many designs as you could possibly want. That way you can test a few different designs, see what they actually look like when you put it on a t-shirt, because you can mock up as many designs as you want to on Illustrator with or Photoshop, but until you've actually put a design onto a t-shirt,
until it hits the fabric and you see the actual color gradients, you
really see it in a different light. The transfer will always replicate what you want it to look like, but once you actually see it with the cotton or the polycotton blend, that's when you really know which design it is that you really like.
And any changes that you make as well, if you order Ultra Color Max and get a jumbo sheet of, say, I don't know how many you can fit, 50 transfers on a jumbo sheet. And then there's a couple that you're not a fan of, you haven't wasted 10 sheets and 10 versions of that design, which 10 obviously is still very low minimum order for standard Ultra, but once you know that's the design you want, you can make cost savings by ordering more sheets of Ultra Color for a lower cost, bigger profit, without the risk of not liking the design. So we're doing all of this for you guys.
Yeah, and for heat transfers, like I say, you're looking at sort of at £29 is roughly the entry level price for
Ultra Max.
For Ultra Max, for your first set of heat transfers. If you're looking to order any of the 1 to 5 color screen or the ultra color transfers, you're looking at a price between 6p and £6 for transfers. So still, even if you're having the minimum order at the largest size, you're still only going to pay £5.97 per sheet anyway.
Yeah, it's still the most cost-effective way of doing it.
Super cost-effective. Another great way if you're starting out is to do gang sheets. So this is for a loaded sheet. So whenever you
call them loaded sheets.
Sometimes,
I know that.
But not everyone. A gang sheet's a bit of an in-house industry term.
Okay.
But if you're anyone that's new, it basically means put as many transfers as you want onto a sheet.
Yeah.
You'll still have to cut them out at that point.
Yeah, so leave enough space in between your designs.
Yeah.
Done that wrong a few times.
Yeah, you don't want to lose money spending your time with a pair of scissors. So that's another way you can sort of make cost efficiencies. And then once you've developed your product and you've sampled it and you've got it right, then you can start to think about profit. How many, then you know, how many t-shirts am I going to sell? How many transfers can I get onto a sheet? Or if I'm buying them individually, how much is that going to cost? And then you can start to factor everything into how quickly do I want to pay off the heat press?
Yeah.
And then that's how you can get the manufacturing side of a t-shirt business started, all you need to do is buy a heat press and then go to custom.targettransfers.com and use our easy view designer, upload an EPS file or a PNG, and then you can get started. That's basically it.
So from this moment right now, you could be printing your own t-shirts from as soon as a few days' time.
Yeah, all transfers get turned around in 2 days.
And all heat presses are shipped on next day delivery.
Exactly. So it's very, very easy to get started. We've seen thousands of people get started over the last couple of years, and lots of them are making some really great profits. So look, with our customers, we see anything from £10 to £200 in terms of the retail price of their products. Yeah. So depending on how premium you're going to go with your product, it's very easy to make large profits.
You could even do with Ultra Colour Max limited edition runs now as well.
Yeah.
Make them even more exclusive and cost-effective.
Exactly. So just to recap on the transfer types for you, 1 to 5 colour screen is anything that's block coloured. We can also Pantone match those. So if there's a very specific colour you want, do ask us and we can load that up for you. There's over 500 colours already existing. Those colours can also be turned into metallic or shimmer colours as well. And there is a limited number of fluorescent or neon colours available, which are exclusive to Target Transfers. They're special ink mixes that we've made. So that's 1 to 5 colour. Anything more than 3 colours, though, you're going to make more profit by picking an ultra colour, which is a full colour transfer. It basically means a no limit transfer. As many colours as you want, as much detail as you want to get started. That's anything between 10 and 100,000 units of that transfer. And if you're just looking to sample stuff, get started, you can get what we call Ultra Colour Max, which is a one-off product. So if you're doing short run stuff, this is a great way to get started as well. So entry-level heat presses start at £425 plus VAT, and Ultra Colour Max transfers start at £29. So you could very easily get your business started at low cost, but something that's very scalable. If you're interested in learning more about the blank products that go with it, then make sure you are listening to some of our future episodes, because we're going to have some of the largest blank suppliers in the UK on our podcast.
Very exciting times.
And we're also going to be doing some interviews with them at Printwear and Promotion. So this podcast will come out after the event. So by this time, there'll be interviews with many of the garment manufacturers already up on our YouTube channel as well. So do go and have a look at that as well, because they'll help you to understand the actual physical product that's going on. And we'll get into pricing and sort of profit margins with them
in a bit more detail
on a separate episode as well.
I think while we're on the topic of starting a business, heat press transfers, all of that jumbo, we should probably talk about why people would want to do this themselves rather than outsourcing to a supplier. Because we've had a few messages recently of people saying, well, it would take me more time, it would cost me more money, why wouldn't I just outsource this to someone else? There's a lower minimum order, which our minimum order quantity is now 1, so if you can find lower than that, that's pretty good going. But one of the main things that we always enforce to people is the quality and control aspect over your business. So regardless of the size of your business, you want to make sure that the product that you're giving your customers is of highest quality possible. You know that it's been applied properly, that it's going to last, and that customers are going to be happy with it, and that you'll get return business off of that. If you outsource your work to a third-party manufacturer or supplier, the chances of them taking the care and precision that you would over your own products is not as likely. Don't get me wrong, there are probably some suppliers that produce great products out there, but I personally would definitely want to have control over everything I produce. And but the turnaround time now, like you say, 2 days for transfers, you could have them fusing out the door within less than a week of the customer sending you their design. It's not like there's a long wait time anymore to have things delivered to you. It's not going to take you any longer. They're between 10 and 12 seconds to be applied. So it's a really quick and easy way to do it, and it means that you have complete control. So I don't know if you have anything to.
Yeah, well, transfers are the way to get the most premium finish on your garment. So there's nothing that feels softer, there's nothing that feels more part of the garment than a heat transfer. So in that case, by outsourcing, you're essentially cutting into your profit margins, like Molly said. So you get quality control and you get a higher profit margin. And as we've discussed already on this episode, is the actual machine cost for a heat press machine is very low. So that profit margin will be better spent on
more transfers.
More transfers. So yeah, once you build it to the point where you're getting enough volume coming in, then you'd be better off employing a junior to come in and do the heat pressing for you under your supervision. And likewise, even when you're growing a business, once you've got to the point where you've got 5-10 machines, you're still going to make more profit with a heat press and heat transfers than any other way, and it's going to last longer than any other printing method available as well.
Yeah, we've actually had screen printers order our screen printer transfers for their neck labels because it was more cost and time effective for them. And these are screen printers with the massive machines. I don't know what are the spinny things called that they have.
A carousel.
Yes. Yeah. That was really simple, wasn't it? So in conclusion, if there's anything that you would like to ask us about starting a business, if you've got any queries or questions that we can help answer, do just send us a message, email or a phone call, and we'll happily help with that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for watching and listening today. Thank you, Molly, for joining me.
Thank you, Andy.
And we'll see you next time.